Petra Fisher. Hey, Petra, how are you doing today?
Hey, pretty cool. So excited to be here. Absolutely amazing lineup today.
Thank you. Now,
Hard act to
where are
follow.
you joining us from? I know we're different places in the world. Where are you joining us from, and what time of day is it right now?
All right. Well, it's 6 p.m. And I'm in Amsterdam, so opposite side of the ocean to you.
Across the pond, if you will. I remember John
Yeah,
Syrian when I was first connecting with him. He's like, "Oh, I'm just across the pond, just a hop and
that's it.
a
Yeah, just a bit of a swim. I used to be a learned swim instructor, so I
Yeah.
would just come on over.
Come on, swimming over. And Petra, you are one of the, I have a list, I have it called the Meller Marketing LinkedIn Rock Stars. And I can't even remember. I should have kept track, like how I first heard about people. If you were referred, if you reached out to me, if I found you, if you were recommended, I can't remember, but I've been following you for ages and ages. And I always love your LinkedIn posts, and you have a great personality on
Thank
LinkedIn.
you.
Oh, and I had the wrong topic up on screen. Let me try this again.
I
You're
did, yeah. And
talking
that list of yours, I don't know. I was suddenly on there. I think
you
that's even how I found out about your list. When you tagged me,
I
when you
tagged you.
posted it and I was on there. It's like, oh, cool.
Yeah, it's crazy. Well, I went through my Rockstar list, and I strategically, I'm like, who would I kind of like to hear from, and who do I think could add value? And it's so hard because there's like everybody's my favorite on the list, but I'm like, I handpicked a couple people that I hadn't really had the chance to talk to individually, and you were one of those people. I'm like, I love your post. You make me smile. You have a great personality on your profile. Do you want to come on and talk to the group? And we're here today, and if anyone is watching this, whether live or in playback, this is a LinkedIn Live-a-thon. It's a 4-hour event where I'm bringing in people who are in my network, who are my LinkedIn rock stars, to give advice to people who are either actively in career transition, or today's focus is really on those people that are working but looking. Working full-time job, don't want to set off any red flags, but they are looking to make a change in 2021. So Petra's going to be giving us some tips on adding personality in your profile. Before we do that, Petra, why don't you take a few minutes, tell people a little bit about who you are and what your business is all about.
All right, thank you. I hate this question. When I deliver training in person, when I go somewhere, my opening line is usually something along the lines like, hey, I'm not going to bore you about me. You all know how to use Google. You came here to find out something else. But anyone who wants to know something like me, because that's a bit of thing that's over the years, especially in the beginning when you were doing your sort of coffee meetings, it's been a bit between us. I hate coffee. So I am always known for having a cup of tea, whereas you often talk about coffee, So I think that's something to know about me. I always drink tea,
Mm-hmm.
to the point that I've even got a series of free training sessions that is called LinkedIn Tea.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, I don't know. I guess anyone who really wants to know about me, so I help people with LinkedIn, like
Yeah.
most of us here today. Anyone who wants to know more, go check out my profile, stalk me online anywhere, I'm here to talk about LinkedIn, not to talk about me.
I'm not going to read it out loud, because I think if we say certain words on YouTube, my video might be like flagged. But it's in her profile. She's got some interesting, colorful words in there. I love it. And if you know Petra, if you follow Petra, it's personality. It works for her because she is independent. Now, if you're working in a corporate job, especially in a little bit more of a tight-lipped field, or maybe a little more official, you may not want to use such colorful words in your LinkedIn headline. But let's go to the people who do these things best. When we're looking for tips on how to add personality so that you are attracting the right company culture, Petra's somebody who can help us out with that. I love it. You're a Post-it person too. Did I not know this already? Oh my gosh, this is beautiful.
What's that?
I love it. So let's kick this off here. And I may pull myself off a video just for a little bit of the talk, but I will come back in. But I want to kind of turn the floor over to you now, Petra. So give us some tips. How can we add personality into our LinkedIn profile, into our activities, so that we are attracting the right company culture? What is your advice?
Excellent. So I actually prepared a little bit of a presentation because
that's right.
I love talking about my topic, and otherwise I'll sit here talking for 3 hours. So by having a bit of presentation, I know I can limit myself. So I have to figure out, I'll click this share button down here, I guess.
Yep.
And then share screen, but then Oh,
So in
God.
your bottom of the StreamYard, you should see like a share button with a computer icon. When you click on the share, and then you have
Yeah.
to tell, it's not going to share yet, just so you know, it won't share
Okay,
it until I
cool.
enable it. So it kind of goes into, just so you guys know, that we're like there's a green room in StreamYard, and I can see certain things that are behind the scenes. I wonder if I have to stop my share. So let me stop mine. I don't know if that matters. Okay, now I'm seeing yours, adding personality to attract the right people. When you're ready, let me know, and I'll pull it up on screen. I think you're
Yeah,
ready.
sure.
Okay. So we'll pull this up, and then I'm going to pull myself off of the video, but I'll stay in the room here, and I will turn this over to you.
Excellent. All right. So I can now only see my own screen and my own presentation. So I have no idea what the world is seeing, but I think it's like with Shelley before that I'll probably be sitting on the side, even though I can't see myself. But what I'm here to talk to you about today is how to add personality to your LinkedIn profile to attract the right people. Now, this equally applies to entrepreneurs who want to attract clients or people in career transition who want to attract a new employer. So even if I say things like client, just make an employer and it still be the same thing. So let's talk about personality. Meet my friend Brenda, LinkedIn strategist and pie lover extraordinaire. This is an image, I found of her online, or I wish I could pull faces like that. Man, yours looks so good. So just a few examples here of how Brenda presents herself online. And my question to you, dear audience, is do you think that Brenda lost possible connections, people who wanted to connect to her and then saw this, or maybe even clients over these images? So, if you're watching this live or in the replay, you can always type in the comments, look, do you think that Brenda may have lost some possible business or connections through these images?
I'm putting the you can't see the comments until I pull them up on screen, but I'll let you know, Petra. There's about a 30-second delay for
Right.
folks that are watching this. So you asked the question, they might be trying to type in a response, and then you're
And then
waiting.
I've already put the answer up here. Okay, let's forget the chat, people. Anyone who's got something to say to me, put it in the chat or wherever, and I'll see it afterwards. I think I can see the chat in the LinkedIn event. But
You can.
anyways,
Yep.
so my question was, do you think Brenda lost possible connections or even clients over these images? And if you missed it, these images, I think, to me, this really attracts me to Brenda. I'm thinking like, yeah, my kind of person, I wish I could pull off these faces, but absolutely loving it. But do I think that she may have lost opportunities there? Yeah, absolutely. I do believe so. But I think that's a good thing. And I'll get to that. Because when Brenda introduced me, she briefly showed my headline. As we can see, so when you go to my LinkedIn profile, this is the first thing you see. Your LinkedIn presence need personality, what we're talking about today, to attract your most brilliant, motivated, fun client or employer. So far, so good. Image, reasonably decent. I used to have a jacket there until I realized that even when I go into corporate, into businesses to train their teams, I find myself showing up in a t-shirt. So I thought, what is that jacket doing on my LinkedIn? So that's gone. But then we get to the headline. And yes, there are people that will not connect with me, that will never, ever hire me because of this headline. I lose possible business within 3 seconds, maybe 10 from this. But I still think, there it is. Yeah, that's what I was talking about. I still think that it's a good thing whether I have a headline that's not for everybody. Brenda has this real fun attitude that may not be for everybody. But you know what? Excuse me. That's what we need. Your LinkedIn presence needs to make people run. Absolutely. You don't want people to just sort of sit there and go, You want people to run one way or the other. That doesn't matter. Okay, I've got something here. I know what I was going to say. I'm sorry, people. But you know what? With this running, it's a bit like Chris Duker. He's got this magnetic marketing thing. He puts it like you got to either attract the best and repel the rest, because a magnet, that's a push-pull. I always say people need to run, either run away or run to you, because that way you only attract those people that you get along with. Now, I work a lot with entrepreneurs who are service providers. And as a service provider, it's easy. I can sell fabulous tea mugs to anyone and couldn't care less. But if I have to work with someone one on one, I need to get along with those people. And by adding some personality to your LinkedIn presence, you are going to attract just those people that you get along with. Because when you don't clearly show your personality, terrible things can happen. I recently had to fire a client. Now, I usually talk to people before I even take them on. And in the talk, it seemed all right. And then as we started working together, after a few sessions, I thought, this is just not working, And then it turned out that person knew nothing about me. They had just heard someone else raving about me, never bothered to check me out. So we were a total mismatch. Now, I work for myself. So the worst thing that can happen is what happened then. I had a client, didn't work out. Even though I'd done part of the work, I wanted to leave on good terms. So I just said, look, I am sorry. I misjudged. We're not a good match. I cannot offer what you need. Just refunded the money and moved on. But what about, imagine you just land your dream job. When you think about the job, the kind of work, the projects, the challenges, everything is really exciting. You do the job interview, all goes well because you're talking about the job. And then once you start working there, you don't fit in the company culture. I think that's one of the worst things that could happen. You spend so much time at work. I mean, even before I did this work from a very young age, well, young as in adult, I used to say, I'd rather do a totally brain dead, dumb job in a great team than have my dream job with people I don't get along with. I'd rather sit at, I don't know, some direct marketing center stuffing brochures in envelopes with Brenda all day than do something really, really cool with someone I don't get along with. So that is where I'm getting at, guys. You need to add personality so that you attract the right people, whether it's clients, employers, company culture. And so this comes down to personal branding. So here's a really long slide. And really it's like, what people call personal brand. So there's a big of a definition and blah, blah, blah. That personal brand turns into personal branding. It's even worse. It's pretty much what it comes down to, too long, didn't read. These are the 3 key points from those 2 previous slides. I just put the slides there so I wasn't making it up. I did some research, I found stuff online, but what it comes down to, you position yourself as an authority in your industry. Your personal branding, so what you do online on LinkedIn, should elevate your credibility and ultimately differentiate yourself from the competition. Now, this is something I always hammer on. What makes you different than the next person? Not better, not worse, different. The reason why us LinkedIn trainers, Shelley, Brenda, John, who else was on today? I think was Kenneth on. I can't remember. I haven't watched all of it, but the reason we all get along and we don't look at each other as competition is we may all be doing LinkedIn training, but we each have our own bit of a area of expertise we focus on. But even if we did the same thing and for the same target audience, if you can't get through half an hour after waking up without a cup of coffee, you probably relate more to Brenda. If you can't stand the smell of coffee and all you want all day is your cup of tea, you relate more to me. So these might seem trivial things, but it shows who you are. But let me show it in a bit more professional way, so to speak. Whatever you want to do, you want to evoke a reaction. So that's the make them run. Either they're running from you as fast as they can, good riddance, you don't want to work there, or they run to you because they think, hey, this is my kind of person. But in the end, it's all well and good, to attract clients or an employer who matches your skills, your expertise, your experience. But what if you can't stand them? It's what I sort of was talking about before. If you're going to put in any effort into LinkedIn, then you might as well do it in a way that, only attracts those people that you absolutely love to work with. So why else put in the effort if the outcome is not what you're after? So how do you do that on LinkedIn? Adding personality. All these bullet points definitely apply to your profile, but a lot of them relate to your posts and your comments as well. So if you're a bit like me and you never shut up, you probably write in a more storytelling manner. If you're more of a succinct kind of to the point person, you'll stick to more factual information. Same thing is, do you write paragraphs or bullet points? Are you very casual or a bit more formal? There's no right or wrong here. It is who you are, how you feel most comfortable, because you don't want to have to pretend to be someone once you land that job. So same things. Are you witty, analytical? Doesn't matter. There's no right or wrong, but show us who you truly are. Then other things is with your posts, and your profile, you can add media, little case studies to show your expertise, anecdotes. In the skills section, you can have 50 skills. And generally, these are your keywords, so they're all the things you're actually really good at. And if you have less than 50 things that you're really, really good at, as most of us, you then add some keywords you want to be found for. But it doesn't hurt to, you got 50, so it's all right to sort of spend 5 on made up skills. Anyone watching this, if you go to my profile, I'd be delighted, obviously, if you'd endorse me for Wannabe Nerd, because I do want to be a nerd, and I'm trying to be, but these are all different ways. So the biggest thing is think about how do you behave when you're at work and when you're happy at work, when you're in your element. How do you speak to people? How do you dress? How do you behave? All these things, you want them to shine through in your LinkedIn presence. I've had people when I very first met them, either in person or on Zoom, and they go like, whoa, you're just exactly as I thought you'd be, I feel like we've known each other forever, and that is what you want to achieve. What else is there? Now, the thing is, though, if you're going to do this, especially if you also in your post, in your comments, start to totally be you and let a bit of your personality shine through, people will start to check out your profile. So then you need to make sure that your profile obviously really matches. If, I don't know, if you've always posted and commented in a really, really funny way because you thought, well, the laughs is what get the attention, but it wasn't really your style and you had to put a lot of effort into it. And so now you decide, okay, I'm going to show up who I am. Not boring and dull, but not as witty. That was a bit forced. Then, if that is your new style, your real style, and that's going to attract people to your profile, make sure that matches. If you did anything there because you thought that's how it has to be done, but it's not really you, make sure everything matches there. So just a few quick examples of first impressions, because obviously adding your personality, you do that everywhere. You do it in the about section that Shelley just really talked about. You do it in the experience section. You do it in your comments, your posts, everywhere. But none of that is going to do you any good if you don't get past these first few seconds that people hit your profile. So in this case, with Michelle, what I really, really love, what really shows her personality is this picture. Because it's not sunglasses, but the fact that, I just took them off because I can't read my computer. If I wear my glasses, they are bifocal. And so for the computer, if I look in the distance, the computer is too close. If I want to look through the reading glass, I'm going to look like this and look like a total dick. So I take them off. Still casually puts them on her head. Maybe a tiny detail, but every single person who first sees this picture will have some kind of reaction to it. Whether that's positive or negative doesn't matter, because it means the right people will relate to it. And with personality, although I took it a little bit broader into personal branding, so your values come into that as well. So with Michelle being a proofreader and copy editor, I quite like how she does say the Bible studies and the devotionals and the Christian writers, because that makes it very, very clear, to attract the right people. Who else have I got here? Oh, Saham. See here, what I love here is I help fabulous women, so women with an X. I hadn't even really seen it so much, but that's again about the inclusivity. So that I don't know if it's about not writing woman with man at the end, but it's a thing these days, and I have to look into it more, see if I'm going to adapt it. But it clearly shows something about her. I love that picture. It has a tiny little bit of a cheeky grin, and that's great because she's got such a strong corporate background. So it's easy to then consider her all serious. And although she's an absolutely amazing coach, especially, helping women kick the glass ceiling, things like that. There's this thing she uses. It's called Search Inside Yourself, and it's called Search because it's been developed by some ex-Google person. But I love the personality here with that profile picture, the tone of voice in her headline, things like that. I think I've got one more. Yeah. So here, it's just been promoted. I think he's now director of something or other. But even though his background's always been in sales, when Jan was applying for this job and still working somewhere else, what we tweaked was having this sales savvy and inclusive people leader. So the savvy tells us about his personality, and the focus on people, because all his background really focuses strongly on sales. So these are little things he can really show the world in just a few seconds who you are. All right, I am done. So I'll stop sharing and let Brenda do her magic of whatever is happening here.
That was great, and you definitely followed through with consistency in your personal brand, Petra. What I know about you, you're helpful. You have some fun. You have some personality. I love the pictures. That was such a fun surprise. I didn't know what you were going to show in the beginning, and it was so cool to see.
See you.
And it was funny because when you asked the question, have I lost some connections? I mean, honestly, I don't. It doesn't bother me if I have, because they probably weren't the right people that I wanted to work with anyway. So totally fine with me. And I did you changed your attire in your photo. As well. I was in a corporate marketing role up until a little over 3 years ago. And one of the first things I did on my profile once I made the decision to stay independent is I stopped wearing a suit, because I don't wear suits. I wear blouses and colorful clothing. And I love how you're talking about attracting that right culture of that right organization to your profile through your profile, right? And it's perfectly fine is one of the key takeaways I heard. Perfectly fine. And it's encourage, add personality so that you are attracting the right company culture. And I love that. So I want to open this up for a couple minutes of Q&A, and then we're going to move into our last segment for the event here today.
That's you.
Yay!
Oh, everybody's been waiting for all day. You won, and only. No.
I did this intentionally because two reasons. One is, as the day goes on, the live viewership tends to get a little bit smaller. I'm like, well, I'll put myself at the end. So that keeps people kind of watching throughout. We have had pretty consistent viewership throughout the day, but there is a portion of people that will watch the playback. So I'm like, well, I'll throw myself at the end. And the other reason was because it will stop at 4 hours. And right now we're at 3 hours, 26 minutes, and 30 seconds. So I don't want to have somebody else cut off. I can cut off myself. I don't mind being at the end.
Yeah. Oh, what a lovely comment there. Thank you, great peoples. Anyone, by the way, just like Shelly, if you wanted to connect with me, the button says follow. That's not because I don't want to connect, but for anyone using stories on LinkedIn, once you got 5,000 followers, you get the swipe up, add link stuff, but you have to have your button set for followers instead of for connect. So it's not set that way to snub you all and say, oh, I don't want to connect to you. Just send me a personal message. Say you saw me at Brenda's fabulous LinkedIn Live-a-thon, and I'm happy to connect. So
Awesome.
over to you.
So I'm going to pull that back up on screen. If there's anyone that was that missed the initial part of our interview where Petra had her profile up on screen, let me just go back and pull it up again for you. So the LinkedIn URL is below. When they go to your profile, I think I heard you say the default button is follow, but they can connect with you.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
we recommend that they said that they watched you on the LinkedIn Live today. So in your invitation,
Yes,
guys,
please.
add a note and say, hey, Petra, I watched you on the LinkedIn Live-a-thon, loved your talk about personality. Like, mention something specifically from her talk. That's going to help her to remember you, and then probably increase the likelihood that you'll accept it too, right, Petra?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Because you need your personality hot.
I love it. Yes, thank you, Smina, for watching us today. We really appreciate it. And I think we've gotten through all the questions. In case I have missed any, Petra, are you able to go into the live feed afterwards to participate in some of the conversation and continue to do some networking? I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. No problem.
Awesome. All right. So I think that's it for us today. I want to give you the opportunity. Any final comments? How can people get a hold of you? Anything else you want to share as we start to wrap up your conversation?
All right. Well, yeah, no, I think, the easiest way to connect with me is just on LinkedIn, isn't it? Because if you're watching this, you're most likely on LinkedIn, and that's where it's easy to find me. Do mention Brenda's LinkedIn Live-a-thon so I know what made you connect to me. And ideally, if there's anything I said that made you feel like, yeah, I want to connect to that person, mention that, because it gives us a conversation starter. So you're not just doing it for me, but you're also training yourself to also always do that when you reach out to people. Mention something that's not just your standard thing. So that's the biggest thing. And anywhere else where people can find, I think you're going to post something out afterwards anyway, so just find me on LinkedIn, and that's good enough. And thank you so much for having me here. It was absolutely fun.
It was a pleasure, Petra. I hope someday we'll have the chance to meet in person, and until then, I look forward to watching you and following you and supporting you online.
Yeah, thank you. Likewise.
All right. Take care. Thank you, Petra. So I'll move you off of screen now. And if you could join us in the live stream, that would be awesome. We'll see you out on there.
All right then.
Sounds good.